Today we're going to have a look at the sound mixer, but before we start we need to switch it on. There's a sequence to switching it on, and the first one is the switch at the bottom there, which puts the mains in it and the fans start, the 24 volt DC supply, the reserve 16 volt supply, and interestingly this is a regulated supply and the circuit requires it to be woken up. Thus the main one woken up, small amplifier, ringing generator, large amplifier. So now all the power is on and one more thing remains to be done. There's a button here which I'm going to press in a moment, and just look there, you can see that power unit 1 is green and power unit 2 is green, and when I press it power unit 1 goes amber to show that that one is in use. If perchance power unit 1 were to fail, I can simulate this by switching it off. There's a bit of a thump and power unit 2 is now amber rather than green, and we're running on that one.
Now at this point, let's remind you that you can head over to the MCR21 website where you'll find technical manuals for all the modules described in this video. Back to you, Brian.
Well, here we are inside MCR21 and I'm stood up straight in this particular spot in the production area, and you notice half of my head is disappearing off into the roof. That's because it's higher here and lower there, so I've got to crouch over a bit for this as we look at the sound mixer. Here is the sound mixer. There's a lot of controls, but taking each section one at a time, it's quite simple. There are 10 green channels, 4 blue and 6 red. They are all mixed at the group level, and there's an overall fader. So if I fade up channel 1, you'll see that the ppm goes up. I'm feeding tone into it, and that's ppm 4, which is the normal lineup level. Each channel has got a master gain control there. There are group outputs, which is the output of that section, can be set there and monitored there. You'll notice there's a slight level change, so I can bring it back to the correct level thus. And these group outputs might be fed to perhaps a recording, a different vehicle, according to the requirements of the program. There are also public address outputs. So if I select the PA1 there and do that, oh, nothing happens. One of the joys of this sound desk is that we're still mending it. There's quite a lot to do. Underneath there's a whole load of these plug-in modules. This is a channel amplifier module, and the PA output isn't working because the amplifier is not plugged in, possibly because I've got it in my hand. Enough of that. We will return to these later because they're quite interestingly constructed, and I'd like to talk about that later. So we have mixing, monitoring, the ppm, and of course we have a monitoring loudspeaker there. I found tone very boring, so it's going to be cut off. But that little switch has got a halfway house. It's got a dim, full and cut. While my finger is here, that's the switch which starts the remote tape recorder, and this is the selection area of what I'm going to monitor. I can put tone to line, and I've faded that back to 0, and the tone which is now going to line is coming from this little switch. I always think that's a very powerful switch. You wouldn't want to knock that accidentally halfway through your program. The other position of this switch is ident, and there's a special purpose tape recorder in the back which makes an announcement, perhaps like, this is Newbury Racecourse, music circuit number 1, and they might talk about the date. Group output selection switches. this little indicator here says we're running on power unit 1. There's a reserve power unit, and the whole mixer can revert to batteries if there's a total failure. I'm just going to nip up underneath and switch off power unit 1, and you'll see it change over. Big clunk, but we're now back in action on the reserve power supply. The idea behind this was that if you lost your AC mains supply for the whole vehicle, the whole sound system, communications and all, would revert to batteries. You'd lose vision and there'd be an awful lot of shouting and phone calls, but you could actually continue in sound only. Now we're going to have a look at some of the modules underneath the desktop. Now the desktop in itself is quite clever. Look, you can remove them for access. So you can now see what's underneath. These are all the audio amplifiers. Some are away, they're at the doctor's. The hospital is giving them tender loving care. On this side are the power supplies, the loudspeaker amplifier, talkback amplifiers. There's a whole range of these plug-in modules like that. This is one of Pi's standard range, gain, high-low switch, and there are actually two independent amplifiers in there. There's a front half and a back half, so it's a very flexible thing, but it's only one of a whole range of different modules. And we're now going to have a look at some of the other modules. Here is the ringing generator. Now, what can I say about this? Oh, it's a big oscillator. It makes the ringing voltage at 17 Hz so that the phone system can ring the bells. It's not particularly special, but it is an essential item. Let's put it there and get the next one out. This one has got a bit more in it. It's a small loudspeaker amplifier, 2 inputs with volume controls, and I forget how many watts it is. It might be 5 watts. A useful thing. Next to it is another big lump. Now this is a heavy one, so you'll excuse me if I get a good grip on it. If you look at the size of that transformer, this is one of the 2 regulated 16-volt power supplies. Load of pass transistors. There's 6 of them there, and it's quite heavy. So that's the main one, and that's the reserve one. Underneath it there is the 24-volt one that runs the relays and the lights and things which aren't directly on the sound side. It's not a regulated one, it's just 24 volts raw DC. I made myself a little hooky thing to help pull them out. This one won't come out. There we go. This one is another audio amplifier. It runs the main monitoring loudspeaker, 20 watts, mains transformer, input coupling transformer. Somewhere there's an output transformer underneath. On the back are the fuses. I've got these rather attractive little covers, and there's a main and spare in each position, so that if the fuse were to blow, you have a spare to pop in immediately, and that will blow again because the first one blew for a reason. so the second one isn't going to do any better. So there was a whole range of these modules. It was like Lego. Pi could pick the modules they wanted to use and assemble them into the frames and quickly make up a mixer to your specification. This is another variety of the amplifier. It's a talkback amplifier, and it's got a certain degree of compression in it so that the talkback remains at a constant level. This one we've serviced, and if you look carefully you'll see that it's grown some new capacitors. One of the drawbacks of stuff of this age is that the electrolytic capacitors can be iffy, and our volunteer who serviced these decided that the way forward was to replace them all. These amplifiers on the other side, we're taking a slightly different policy, and we're only replacing those which need replacing because, to be quite frankly, there's an awful lot of them. I'll pop that back in its place there. Now the final one I want to pull out and show you is the PPM amplifier. PPM stands for peak program meter, and the idea is that the needle, which is measuring and indicating the volume level, has a very fast response time and a slow decay time, so that you can, by looking at it, you can get a better feel for setting the volume of the program. So here's the local meter. There's a zero set and a sensitivity set and a meter dim. There's a couple of bulbs in here so that you can adjust the brightness and see it in the dark, because operationally this room would have been virtually dark. None of the lights would have been on, and you would just have the illumination from the screens and from the script light. So the PPM amplifier, there's a pair of them, main and reserve, and there's a switch here so that you can go between main and reserve. Hopefully, we've switched it off now because all the modules are out, but yes, hopefully when you switch between them they read the same, optimistically. So that's the sound desk and the Lego kit of bricks to make it up. One of the things I didn't mention was the noise level in here. You'll have noticed behind my voice there's a whirring noise. The van is full of fans. It's necessary to keep these units cool. There's a lot of heat dissipated in this area, so the fans help to carry away that heat, because transistors of the period were germanium devices and particularly sensitive to the temperature they were operating at. Now, one of the interesting things about studying the history of outside broadcast bands is to have a look at how they evolved over the years. This vehicle represents the peak of technology in 1963, but it is based on the earlier vehicles, and as the later vehicles are based on this one. One of the improvements in the sound area is the use of a jack field. Here we have the whole 20 jack inputs, and they can be locally plugged, and here you can see that I'd plugged the tone generator into input 1, which we were demonstrating earlier. So there's the jack field, is a new progression. This mixer is a solid state mixer using transistors. Its predecessors were using valves, and I think 8 channels was a popular choice. which was possibly about as much as you could manage in valves, because they were bigger, used more power and heat, so there was a natural limit to what you could accommodate in an outside broadcast fan. So we're going to plug it in, cross our fingers. Well, not really, we don't need to cross our fingers, we're confident it will work. And there we are, the last one in place.